Terrific to have your company on this Friday night. Tony Moclair is in Melbourne. Scott Emerson is in Brisbane. I promise we'll have some laughs in this final segment. Tony and Scott, Donald Trump has said that China didn't do enough to contain the coronavirus when it emerged in Wuhan. I couldn't agree more with him. He's launched his strongest attack on the coronavirus, saying the world is paying the price for Beijing's role in the biggest global pandemic. Look, I was following this virus when stories started to leak out in December. And was very, very concerned about what was happening. And I think one of the saddest stories was the doctors who tried to blow the whistle and letting people know, look, this virus is different. And they were hauled before the police, they were shut down, they were told to stop spreading rumours. Scott, Donald Trump, in my view, is right on this, but I can see there's a bigger play here. China's coming out of the virus, America's going into the virus, so we're seeing a real battle on the writing of history, especially given that one Chinese government official said that the virus was created by the American military.
Yeah, look, and it is an attempt to rewrite history. You know, China will say now, look how well we did in terms of dealing with this situation. The reality is we know, if you go back to December, go back to January, they were in denial, they also started to suppress what was happening. So, in fact, that has exacerbated the situation, made it far worse. If they'd been honest up front and dealt with it then, this situation wouldn't have been so bad. But it's also about rewriting history and the place in history. Donald Trump is watching America slipping into this situation at the moment. He's facing an election at the end of the year. He's got to be shown, he's saying now, I'm the war president, I'm the wartime president, I've got control of that. He's playing at politics as well as the policy, and so he's trying to get back at China in terms of that as well. So both of them, I think, it can be accused of probably misleading people about what the reality is at the situation and what they've done over the last weeks and months.
I can see, certainly, Tony, I can see a real tussle for the writing of history on this one. And as we've said, China's coming out of this, America is facing it. We know that, you know, none of these countries, ours included, if you listen to the experts, has enough respirators if the worst should happen. The United Kingdom is in all sorts of bother. I saw their health secretary own up and say they didn't have enough respirators and they'll take whatever anyone can make. Now, Donald Trump is really sort of sheeting it back to China. I think he's right to do that because he's made a lot of mistakes along the way. I don't think he took the virus seriously enough in the preceding weeks. But what do you make of it?
Well, I think he's spot on. His instincts are brilliant, as usual. China is responsible for the virus. You can whitewash history as much as you like. Wet markets, we know, are breeding grounds for these sorts of viruses. And the World Health Organization, which is essentially controlled by China anyway because it gives it a lot of its funding, it would tell you that. If you look at, let's say, the fourth estate being essentially a fifth column, if journalism is the first draft of history, then I think the media in America have a lot to answer for. I think the mainstream media there are utterly debauched. They've come from attempting to gin up the Russia hoax as a pretext for removing from office a duly elected president. Can you imagine if they'd succeeded in that a month ago, where America would be right now? And now they are acting as willing proxies, pushing this nonsense idea that calling the virus what it is, the China virus, is racist, when there's a well-established practice for naming viruses or illnesses or diseases whence they came. Ebola, a lot of people might not know, is named after a river where it first originated. There's Ross River fever, there's German measles. This is standard practice, apparently, until now. And, I mean, you could compare President Trump with President Xi. I didn't see the Chinese leader giving long press conferences with people in the background. I didn't see him deferring to experts. I didn't see any transparency in that process. And as you mentioned, Jane, there wasn't. And we had
there wasn't, and we didn't even see. We didn't even see. I was watching closely. I was on the air over summer. I was watching for President Xi. He was AWOL for quite some time over this.